Welcome back to H.A.M. Today we are working on a 2020 Chevy Blazer, and it came in for the 3.6 liter famous coolant sensor located under, well, you guessed it, under the intake manifold in the belly. Now we already have it done and we're just letting it run and burn the coolant system. But here is our thermostat housing with the famous butterfly wing. Well, this one you have to have a charge pipe disconnected. If you know anything about these, pull the thermostat housing out of the way just so you can access the temperature sensor. Rotate counterclockwise so you can access the connector for the sensor and then pull it out. And it's, well, it's a pain. It's a real pain in the butt. But y'all stay tuned.
2020 Chevy Blazer, brand new temp sensor from one of the parts stores, does not work.
Well, you heard it from our tech Ken that the temperature sensor that we installed in the 2020 Chevy Blazer did not work. It is a client provided coolant temp sensor, and we've had luck with these not working with quite a few newer model cars. So if you don't know this, standard, unfortunately, which is if I'm not mistaken, is still a Blue Streak brand, but in a lot of newer stuff they have not been working, and unfortunately for our client, they provide us the part, so there is no warranty on that. They ended up stopping by because we told them it'd be done this evening, and to get an update on where we were, and we informed them that the part they provide did not work out, and that if they wanted us to redo the work, it wasn't going to cost them because they provide the part and the warranty was in their name. We did reach out to our local Chevy dealership and got a OEM GM genuine part, which is also made in China, as is the standard brands. But hopefully the GM one actually works, and we will find out tomorrow once we redo this job, because we have another client who was also in town for the holidays, and they are actually leaving tomorrow. We had to get their vehicle in and get it done so they can get back home. Day 2 of the 2020 Chevy Blazer for the coolant temperature sensor. Now, as I stated earlier in the video, the client did provide us a temperature sensor from one of the local parts stores. After we got it in, well, you've seen earlier in the video that it failed. Now, it was not reading whatsoever in the dash. Still had a bunch of codes, and some of those actually pertain to the coolant temperature sensor, even though they are unrelated, but they're on the same system, as it is with a lot of newer cars. Even though they have nothing to do with that system, they are linked somehow. Engineer things. But we did reach out to the client. They approved us to put in a temperature sensor provided by us, and we are going with the original factory replacement. This is also made in China. See that little sticker there, as well as the one that they provided us was also made in China, but from parts store. As stated earlier in the video, we found out that a lot of newer cars do not like aftermarket parts. Now, whether this be because they're programmed for OEM stuff specifically or not, I may never know, because I'm not, an engineer, nor do I work at a dealership or currently know anybody that works at a dealership as a mechanic. Do you know a couple people? but not in that department. So we are in the process. The draining, and since this is, oh no, it's still draining. This is good coolant, so we drained our bucket and cleaned it earlier, so we can reuse the new coolant that we put in yesterday. We already have the intake manifold off. The upper radiator hose to the bypass is over here. I've got to disconnect that. Disconnect the bolt that holds that pipe in, which is down in about here, and then pry that off from the thermostat there, and our sensor is right in here. Why Chevy put that in such a convenient location is beyond me, but you know, engineers don't like mechanics. I'm Jamie. Stay tuned. We're gonna get this knocked out here shortly. All right. We'll pull the thermostat housing out so we can reach the coolant temp sensor. Which this in itself is tricky. Now, got to grab my handy dandy extension. Let's see if I remember which size this is. So I'm going to go in here. All right, got the correct size. Get this turned around so we can access the clip there. So that red clip. Grab my pick. Pull up on the red clip. Now the fun part is trying to get it disconnected. All right, so we got that disconnected. Back in here, finish pulling the sensor out. You know, famous words of every mechanic is, I live my life a quarter turn at a time. And that is true when it comes to doing these sensors. Now, if I didn't like this tool too much, I would actually grind the edge of it down. But I actually like my crow's foot here. All right, now that we got it completely loose and out, I'm gonna grab some long end those pliers here and pray that we don't drop this down in that hole right there where a thermostat goes. And we didn't. All right, so to compare all of these sensors, you see this is the parts store one that we just removed, which we will be putting back into the box that it came in. And this is the original one that we pulled out. They look identical. Here's our OEM one that we picked up yesterday. This appears to be a new updated version looking at, so we're going to compare the two and hope that Chevy did not give us the wrong one, considering that we gave them the part number. And that definitely looks to be very wrong. The length of the bottom is the same, but the connecting part is different. This is a lot deeper. So I'm actually going to call Chevy and make sure that they give us the correct one, and if they didn't, hopefully they have the correct one in stock and we can go pick it up. If not, I might have to put another parts store one back in and pray to God that it actually works this go around. So y'all stay tuned. I did just get off the phone with the local Chevy dealership, and this is indeed correct. It is a updated version of this, and I did verify it does actually click in. And I'll show you here momentarily. Let me get the camera turned around. So, turn my light back on. Alright. So here is our coolant temp sensor connector. You can see lengthwise it actually does fit. But just to verify, she clicks in and locks. So we're going to get this installed. And try and get our camera to focus. All right. So I'm going to use my needle nose pliers because I do not want to drop this down in the thermostat housing hole. There, we got that in the place there. Let's get the camera closer, which is a black abyss over there. You can see that is where the temperature sensor goes, and that's the thermostat housing. I'm not going to bore you with the quarter turn at a time with this, but once we have it installed and get the intake manifold on and start burping the coolant system. So we've got everything put back together, topped off the coolant system, and now we are working on clearing the codes that were still on this. Clear engine codes fell, so we still have engine codes. Let's see what codes we have. We scanned the system and it's still the same codes as it was yesterday after we finished the repair. After today finishing the repair, we still cannot clear the engine codes. So I'm gonna break out Old Faithful This is why I keep this thing around, because when we have hard times with the big scanners not wanting to clear codes, typically this cheap little scanner will actually clear the codes, so we can actually retest the system. Get this turned around here. Let's see what it says on this one and if we can clear the codes. No, hold on. Ignition turned off on me. Alright, got the car whipped back up. I might have to unplug this and replug it back in. Let's see. Alright, that shows we only have one code. Let's read the codes, stored codes. Coolant temp sensor, yes, we are aware of that. Let's go pending codes. Same exact codes on the Snap-on scanner. So we're going to go previous menu, try to erase these codes because we've already done the repair. Erase fail. Alright, so even the little guy's failing us. What to do is either disconnect the battery and let it sit for a bit, or option 2, crank it up, let it run, and see if the computer will reset itself and actually pick up the coolant temperature sensor. If it does not, we either have a bad sensor from the dealership, or we've got something else going on further in the system, like bad wiring, bad fan relay possibly for the for a coolant system, obviously, because it's fan relay. So stick around and we're going to dive deeper into this. Here's where we're currently sitting. I did disconnect the negative post. We got the AC on, 66 degrees, blowing out, and it is actually working. And more importantly, our coolant temperature sensor is reading in the dash, unlike last night where it was at 0 the whole time. Sorry, the camera's not focusing here, but
That's where it was last night.
so we should be around 193, if I recall correct. OEM cooling temperature on the thermostat. We are at the 200 degree mark here on the coolant temp, and we have no check engine lights. So 200 degrees, we are at operating temp. So now we can call our client and let her know that her vehicle is ready, and they will be able to make it home safely without the car overheating or, you know, blowing a fan motor relay, because the fans are on high constantly to start as soon as you crank it up. I'm James with H.A.M. Auto. Thanks for watching.